Hello and welcome to the Monday evening.
You love ball like I do. After Dark's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fix.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
All right, welcome in. It is the Field of 68 After Dark on a Monday night, our second Monday of the college basketball season. I am Chris Childers. Got the great John Henson with us tonight, CJ Moore, and Wright, two great content guys, writers that cover the great game of basketball. And certainly we have a lot going on in the world of basketball. Everybody's looking forward to tomorrow night and the Champions Classic, but a little appetizer to kick off the week tonight. We saw Alabama, we saw Purdue, we saw Iowa State, so we will get into it. But it's been a fun start. We are now a week in. We've had some teams that have looked pretty impressive, some teams that have been a little bit slow out of the gates as expected. Kind of a mixed bag. I know everybody wants to draw conclusions early. Certainly too early to do that, but John Henson, I will start with you. We have 3 games of Alabama. Tonight they played a good McNeese State team. Will Wade certainly has a nice roster down there, and that's a team that's picked to win their league. But for Alabama, 3 games in, they're 3-0, maybe a little closer than they wanted against Arkansas State and tonight. But your thoughts so far on what you've seen from Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide, John?
I think they look good. They're at the top of the totem pole right now, so they're going to get everybody's best shot. That's just how it goes. So I'm not concerned about the results as much as I just like Mark Sears is playing within himself. He's not taking bad shots. He was 3 for 5 from 3 today. Big Cliff, Grant Nelson comes in and he's solid, 2 for 4 from 3. They're playing well together. They look like they're in midseason form. And I think they're only going to get better. And then they have a wealth of riches coming off the bench with Wright. It's Alabama is good. They're going to be there to end. It's championship or bust for them this year. And to start off, they're doing what they need to do. They're not winning by 30 points, but McNeese State is a pretty good mid-major team. You know, they lost their first game, which, you know, was kind of an upset. But for the most part, they've got some high-level D1 guys on their squad, man. So Alabama played them well. And I think it's good for them to get these type of games where you play high-level talent. It's not a cupcake walk like some of these schools kind of typically like to do to get some wins. And it'll bode well for them as the conference play starts.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think, you know, certainly McNeese is a valid team. They're a valiant team. They're a team that could, you know, get into the tournament, win a game. You know, who knows if they get a right draw, maybe win 2. So I'm not discounting that. But CJ, when you look at Alabama 3 games in, I mean, there was so much hype going into this season, especially with the way the football team was struggling early. Now that they've righted the ship a little bit lately, but it was kind of all eyes on Nate Oates this season and Mark Sears. Close tonight, Arkansas State was also single digits. Do you have any hesitations, or do you agree with John that they've looked the part so far?
I've been a little bit underwhelmed. I mean, it was my preseason number 1 team, and I have a little bit of a buyer's remorse so far. I mean, it's still really, really early. I want to see what this team looks like when Chris Youngblood gets out there. Tonight, I felt like they were missing one more shooter. You know, you have guys that are – I think you've got guys that are rushing shots when they're semi-open really early, and I know they want to play fast and they want to get up a ton of threes. But watching that game tonight, I felt like there were guys taking shots that you don't maybe want to take such quick threes. A Darian Reed, Jaron Stevenson's yet to make a 3-pointer this year, and you know he had a nice finish to the season last year. But Aiden Holloway has been kind of disappointing. You know, he shot it decent the first 2 games, but 0 of 5 tonight. So I think they're missing one more shooter. I think once they're fully healthy, I think you'll see a lot of Reitzel, Youngblood, and Sears out there together. But I did think Sears played a really, really nice floor game. Man, if he gets any kind of space, if he's within 30 feet, it feels like it's going in every time. So he's off to a nice start. It was good to see Grant Nelson play better, but I am a little bit underwhelmed by just their offensive flow so far.
I've been there as well, and I mean, when I watch Alabama, and I've watched them pretty closely the last 3 games to kick off the season. I watch a lot of Alabama. I'm a grad student there right now, so I certainly keep up with what's going on. When you look at the Crimson Tide, they have a huge stretch coming up. So they just got past McNeese. We all agree McNeese is a quality team, but they're about to go on the road away from home, and they'll play teams like Purdue. Then they've got Illinois. Then they've got Houston, Rutgers, North Carolina. So I'd imagine, and we're going to find out everything we need to know about them over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, they are about to get tested for sure. Even Illinois is the one unranked team there, and I could argue that they're just as good as any of those other teams listed. If they come out and play the way that they played the last 2 games, you're going to see them get humbled a bit. I think that you have guys who are still trying to find their role on this team. I think you have guys who can make shots, but are they making them at the right time? Like, is this your turn to make a shot? Sears is a real good player. I like Grant a lot. Him. I believe he started tonight, right? He started tonight.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He started.
Yeah. So I mean. Yeah, so like him being able to play a legit 4 with, Cliff as the big, I think that's something else that they're going to have to work on. And how much are they going to allow Grant to really handle the basketball as a big because he's playing alongside a true big? They've got some kinks to work out, and and they're going to find that out here in the next 2-3 weeks or so.
So how good is McNeese? We saw them tonight, and they gave Alabama a decent game, and it was on the road, and certainly nothing to sneeze at, nothing to be embarrassed at with the way that Will Wade's team played. CJ, when you look at them, is that a tournament or bust team? Is that a team that could win a game? Are we overselling it? What is that McNeese State team we saw with Will Wade?
I mean, I think it's a team that's obviously probably going to win the Southland again. I don't know that they're quite as strong as they were last year. I was actually, they were at Houston. When I was at Houston, they had a secret scrimmage with Texas State that was a pretty close. Maybe peeked on that for a second. It's probably illegal. But they
won't tell nobody.
Yeah, we won't tell anybody.
It's after dark, man. You good?
Yeah. South Dakota State lost Zeke Mayo. I don't know if they're quite as strong as they were last year, and losing that game right off the bat. We'll see. It's Will Wade's gonna always have some dudes. Brandon Murray is a guy that's been at the high major level. Sincere Parker played really well tonight. He scored a bunch on a bad St. Louis team. So they've got some dudes. He coaches them up really, really well. So I thought they had a smart game plan tonight, like making some guys take shots that you maybe Alabama didn't want to take quick shots. So we'll see. But that's a team that I think Alabama should have beat by at least 20 if they're on.
Agree. And they still won, so give them credit.
Yeah.
It's early in the season, and there's certainly a long way to go for them to get lathered up, John.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been the issue with Alabama throughout this last couple of years, right? Like, they kind of play close, then, they'll get down, they'll come back. They just have that firepower. But when you play a high-paced game with a lot of threes, you lend yourself to kind of team getting back in the game, which they did. So I'm a little higher than you guys on them because they're just kind of starting, like I said, man, they're the top of the totem pole. So they're going to get the best shot. We'll see, in a couple weeks what they look like. But, they're winning games, and, with the parity in college basketball, man, it's a tough thing to do on a nightly basis, man, stay focused like that.
I guess my question for all three of you guys, as we talk about Alabama beating McNeese State, that was kind of the game of the night. the game that we were the most excited to watch. So, kind of a light Monday, but still an interesting game nonetheless. My question is the Alabama culture. This is a team that went to the Final Four a year ago. I mean, John, you played for a program that's a powerhouse, that has that expectation, that when you go there, there's a certain expectation when you put on the Carolina uniform. Bama, I think, is trying to be that. Do you buy into they have all of the pieces and parts, or are they fragile? What do you think of that?
I mean, talent-wise, from top to bottom, they're one of the more talented teams in the country, along with Kansas, in my opinion. So, Duke, obviously. So they have all the pieces. What I'm looking at now is just how their top, like how Sears was just a steady force, didn't force anything. He played within himself. When that fire turns up in the kitchen, he's going to be the guy that is a stable force for them. So I like how they look, man. They have a lot of expectations, and that's just part of the game. And being Nate Oates, and they've actually got a guy on the bench, Pannone. He's from Tampa, so one of my closer friends. So I'm always kind of in tune with their program, man. They're feeling good about themselves right now.
The state of Alabama is a basketball-loving state. I mean, it really is. When you look at the state of Alabama, it's kind of amazing how much firepower has gone, Auburn over the weekend.
The Alabama basketball team don't got to wait in line anymore. I had a transfer, Justin Knox. He transferred from Alabama. He said we had to wait in line. The football guys, they skipped us. Nah, the Bama basketball gets to the front now, man. So I'm happy for them.
No doubt about it. Hey, Purdue, that's Alabama's next opponent. We saw them tonight in action. They had the injury with the big guy, with the big 7'4" youngster, but they beat Yale 92-84 at home. Purdue right now, certainly, it's kind of weird not seeing Zach Edey out there. I felt like the guy was eligible for about 4,000 years. But Ant, you're a guy that talks a lot of Big Ten. Your thoughts on Purdue tonight?
First and foremost, man, Yale is a tough team. Like, they're going to be a 13 or 14 seed in the NCAA tournament. That's a tough team, bro. But Purdue did struggle today. They won by 8. They're at home. Not gonna lie. I mean, I tweeted this during the game, during the first half, and I'm a bit worried about Purdue. They don't have that secondary playmaker. I think CJ Cox can be that guy, but the leash isn't really off for him yet to him really fall into that role. Haven't seen the necessary jump from Miles Colvin. He has become more of a catch and shoot guy, but he's not taking the ball off the bounce to really attack. So, like, I think Purdue fans wanted Miles Colvin to turn into more of a Jaden Ivey type, but he's more like a Stefanovic type. And they already have that guy in Fletcher Lawyer. They need someone next to Braden Smith who can create his own shot, and nobody has been really able to do that. Tonight, they closed the game with Braden Smith alongside Lawyer, Heidi, and Miles Colvin with Trey Kaufman-Wren at the 5. And when you're going to be playing against a good team and they're not allowing Braden Smith to do his thing, can the 2, 3, and 4 do anything there? And that personnel, that's just not what they do well. So I trust Painter. I think he's a very good coach. I do think that they do have a piece in CJ Cox who can come in and be that guy. But, Braden Smith has to play like a first-team All-American and dictate everything. He can't – he kind of likes to, take his time coming into games. I don't think he could do that on this team. He has to dictate a lot more. Fletcher needs to be an all-conference guy, but after Trey Kaufman-Wren, it's a severe drop-off compared to the rest of the Big Ten.
I think that's an astute point, and it's kind of weird seeing Purdue in this transitional phase. I mean, they're still a good team. With you, you trust Matt Painter all the way, but they were kind of the standard in college basketball, them and UConn over the last couple of seasons. So certainly a different look. CJ, when you look at the Spoilermaker team, quality win tonight. Certainly the news that we got not long ago about Daniel Jacobson out for the year with the tibia, not ideal. But your thoughts on them tonight and for the long haul are what?
Yeah, I think what's concerning is their inside play defensively. They got owned on the boards tonight. I thought that Will Berg, while, he finished the one shot he had, and, he is huge, but they were Yo was going right at him with a guy that I don't think had scored maybe just a couple baskets all year, Samson Alatin, and he had 14 tonight. They made it a point to go at him early. I'm with Ann on the secondary ball handler. Lance Jones was a guy that came in with so much confidence last year. And I think that they're missing a guy like that. And CJ Cox probably has to be that guy, because I think he's right that Miles Colvin, well, I thought Colvin played a good game for who he is tonight. Like he does knock down shots. I think he kind of became their defensive stopper tonight against the John, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name.
Papa Davis or something like that. Yeah.
He made some tough shots, man. But Miles,
he might be a
Colvin,
pro, man. He might be a pro.
Yeah,
I was thinking that too. He looks good. He's got some good size too. You're right about that.
Yeah, he's got some swagger to him. But I thought that he did a nice job on him. But I love Braden Smith. I think he's one of the best point guards in college basketball. They're going to have a chance because of him. But I think you're seeing Matt Painter get exploratory right now with his offense. And they did have a 1.26 points per possession tonight, so it was a good, solid game. But you saw him having Braden Smith set ball screens for Trey Kaufman-Renn, kind of like Marquette would do with Oso and Tyler Kolek last year. So I think that Painter is kind of coming up with creative ways, because they're not going to be able to throw that ball inside all day long like they have in the past couple of years. Yeah. The Braden Smith pick and roll is going to be a huge, huge thing for them. So I'm with Ant that it would be nice if they had another secondary ball handler, but I think it's going to be the Braden Smith show for the foreseeable future.
Also tonight, Iowa State in action. They beat Kansas City, the Roos, comfortably 82-56. TJ Otzelberger's team, high expectations this year. John, he's a guy that I talked to a couple weeks back. Super confident, great vision for this program. Easy win tonight, kind of a layup, but where are you on the Cyclones?
I love the Cyclones defensively. Obviously, is kind of their calling card, but they also have the offensive talent, this year, I think, that needs to step up a little more if they want to take. And, Kansas City shot just 18-53 from the field. They had 16 turnovers as a team. They didn't hit a shot for the first 7 minutes of the second half. So Iowa State, they imposed their will. And as a team that I think a lot of people have them as a dark horse kind of Final Four team, they're doing what they need to do heading into the Big 12 season. And I'm excited to see how they look against some better competition. But right now, they look the part.
John said it. I mean, like, number one in defensive efficiency last season. No, like, he said it, like, number one in defensive efficiency last season. Lipsy and Gilbert are a good backcourt, but I think Milan Momcilovic has the ability to have a really special sophomore season. Big wing, really tough matchup, especially if you're trying to guard him with somebody undersized. He's someone who you're talking about when it comes to the NCAA tournament. You need a good backcourt, but you also need a pro. I think Milan could be a pro. So I do want them to shoot a bit better from three this year. They were outside the top 300, but if they're just average from three, going with how good they are on the defensive end, they can win so many games this season.
Chris Childers with Ant Wright, CJ Moore, and John Henson is the Field of 68 After Dark, presented by BetMGM. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We're a week into the season. Let's get into some early overreactions. We'll do that next right here on After Dark.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today.
Been a big night already on the field of 68 after dark, presented by BetMGM. I am Chris Childers, joined by John Henson, CJ Moore, and Ant Wright. So we have had 1 week of college basketball. There's a long way to go until the Final Four in April. We're just sitting here in early November. We haven't gotten into any of these holiday tournaments or anything yet, but we have a little bit of a sample size. So certainly, anytime you have something, it's easy to overreact. So let's do a little bit of that on this Monday. Some early season overreactions. We were talking about it earlier. The Auburn Tigers. Let's start right there when it comes to overreaction. So if you look at the AP Top 25 that just came out, Kansas is number 1. Auburn sitting at number 5. But they've got that impressive win in Houston, now not on campus, but at the Rocket Stadium against the Cougs. They've also beaten Vermont. They did this in the face of the kerfuffle that happened on the airplane with a couple of bench guys. Ant, I'll start with you. What do you think of Auburn? Are they the best team in America?
They have an argument, man. I love Bruce Pearl. I think he's one of the best coaches in the country. Johnny Broome is an All-American. Chaney Johnson came in with a double-double off the bench, man. And I got to give my props to a freshman. A freshman being able to light up Houston with 21 after going 0 against Vermont. Good for him. I am all in on Auburn. I think they have all the pieces. I think they are electric. I think their backcourt is good enough. I mean, simple.
They're really well coached. They've got a little bit of everything. They've got a veteran presence, Janai Broome. They've got some pieces that have been around. They've done a nice job in the transfer portal. And Bruce is just kind of a unique dude, John Henson. I mean, you have been around basketball for a long time, and he's a vocal guy. You might not agree with his politics, and he's been pretty out there with all that, but he certainly stands by what he stands for, and it seems like the people that are around him tend to really love him, including Janai Broome, who's been very efficient around the basket, including that past game we saw Saturday against a very good Houston team.
Yeah, I think Bruce Pearl, he wins. He gets the job done. In reference to Auburn being the best team, I agree. We have an argument. They scored 46 points to Houston in the second half, outscored them by 12. Houston had arguably the best defense in history last year from a numbers standpoint. They led the country in defensive field goal percentage and scored defense, which hasn't happened in 40 years. And Auburn shot over 52%. That's only happened 4 times in 7 years. So I don't think this Auburn team's a fluke. They put it on Houston when it mattered. They hit some big shots. They hit 7 of their final 8 shots. They just have guys that Coach Pearl, they asked Coach Pearl about the freshman Pettifer. He said, big nuts, big nuts. Like that. That's what type of team he has. You know what I'm saying? So I loved Auburn. I love watching them play. I love the grit. I love the energy they play with. The jungle is going to be a tough place to play this year, man. So I don't think it's an overreaction, man. Right now, they've showed us more than any other team. They beat a good Vermont team and a Houston team that is supposed to be in the mix for the Final Four in the national championship.
CJ, how does they do, and they're a lot of fun to watch. CJ, how does Pettiford?
They on the plane scrapping, man. Then they came in. Come on, man. Like they were missing 2 kind of rotational guys, like low key too. So they're going to be good.
Give me teams who fight, bro. Give me teams who fight on the plane, man.
The best teams I've been on, we fight like family. We win like family. It is what it is. It's all love.
They're like a hockey team. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Brotherly love is what they call it. Brotherly love. When 100%. a little skirmish. Now, typically you don't turn a plane around. I mean, it almost sounds like, when you're on a road trip with mom and dad and like you're fighting with your brother and sister, and it's like, all right, screw it. We're going home. We're not doing this vacation. You blew it. It's not that's essentially what happened. We're turning this damn thing around. We're leaving you at home. You can have a babysitter, and then we're going to go back. I mean, then they beat Houston.
You can't, and also there's laws and rules and regulations in the air. This is not like the locker room or like campus. They could get in trouble, man. So it's going to be interesting to see the follow. Yeah.
Yeah, and they went on to win. We saw the freshman for Auburn have a really incredible game on Saturday night, and in game one he didn't do anything. I think it was played a handful of minutes and had 0 points. CJ, when you look at Pettiford, how does he factor into this team? Where do you? I mean, as great as he was against Houston, is that a glimpse of what he's going to be for them all season, or was that kind of a one-off?
I mean, I think they have so much depth at the guard position that it's going to be kind of a hot hand situation. But what he was able to do is so impressive to me because I believe he had 0 turnovers in that game against, like we've established, one of the best defensive teams in the country. I think I was down at Houston a couple of weeks ago, spent a couple of days with them, watched them just blitz A&M in a charity exhibition. They're really, really good again, and they had a stretch near the end of the game where they had 4 straight possessions against a set Houston defense, and they basically ran almost the same action every time, put Pettiford in a ball screen, and they scored 4 straight times. Like, you do not score 4 straight times against the Houston defense. The odds of that are very, very, very low. And to put up 46 against that defense in the second half, as Pearl said, like he has some big balls, and to make the right decisions in those situations. Houston's ball screen defense, with the way they hedge their 5-man, people struggle with that, and they struggle with that pressure, and he really got the ball where it needed to go, and that's what really impressed me with his game. Not necessarily the shot making as much as being able to make the right decisions at the right time in the clutch. And I thought it was an awesome win for them. I put them number 2 today in my AP poll. I think that they are deserving because to me it was the most impressive performance anybody has had all season long. Now we're only a weekend; it's way too early to even rank teams. It's kind of silly. But I thought it was the best win anybody's had in the country so far.
And if you watch the game, I'm watching the game. I never felt like Houston was the better team. As I'm watching the game, it just never felt like Auburn was not better than them. I'm a sports bet man. Like, me and my guys literally hammered Auburn like plus 5.5. Like, oh, Auburn's gonna cover the 5. So and that's how, and they looked apart the whole game. Even though they were down, they looked good.
All right, so let me ask you guys this then, as we ask if Auburn's the best team in America. Let's say, John, you're on the BetMGM app right now, and let's say we fast forward to April, and it's Auburn and Alabama, and you had to pick one today to win the national title. They're playing each other. The state of Alabama's on the line. The national title's on the line. Which one and why? And what would the line be in your eyes?
Cool. I mean, I'd probably make Alabama a short favorite, but I'm going to go ahead and say Auburn gets over that Alabama hump. I'm sure they're like the little brother tired to get beat up. I think that this is the year that they're going to flex their muscles. So I like Auburn at this point in time. I think that's an easy choice, as we've seen, them both play games. Auburn just looks like they got a little more continuity, a little more togetherness, and a little more dog in them at this point in time.
It's the defensive end too. I mean, I think Alabama, I talked to Nate Oates in the preseason, like everything he talked about was defense and knowing that they've got to get to like right that top 20 level in defensive efficiency rating to even be in the conversation. And while I think like he's playing lineups right now, I think to try to give him a better chance defensively, and maybe that's why you're seeing the offense slip a little bit. Auburn's already there defensively, and then they're playing great on the offensive end. I mean, to do that against Houston, yeah. I think Janai Broome is maybe one of the most underrated players in the country. Like his per game averages aren't as high as some of. I think he averaged maybe like 16 a game or something like that last year. But Bruce plays a lot of guys, and I think people sleep on him a little bit because he was a guy that was at Morehead State. He hasn't put up crazy numbers, but man. If I'm throwing the ball in the post to anybody right now, he's up there near the top of who I want to go get me a bucket.
I agree.
All right, so let's get to another overreaction here. And we've had 2 games of Indiana. We've had a short sample size. And let's be fair, they've been dominant. They've played a couple of directional schools. in Illinois. They beat SIU Edwardsville, which I grew up in Illinois. I don't even know where Edwardsville, Illinois is, but 80-61 was the final. They played Eastern Illinois, smashed them 90-55, but they've been a little herky-jerky. They've started slow. They haven't been smooth early. Now, 2 games in, can easily iron it out. Mike Woodson's team does have a healthy expectation, and I really do believe for Indiana, their expectation level has been ratcheted up. I think the spotlight has been ratcheted up because of what's happening with football. This is a basketball school. Get yourselves organized. John, we're going to say our overreaction. They're not going to win the Big Ten. What do you think?
I don't think that's an overreaction at the moment. This has kind of been their MO. They tease us, right? They tease us. We love them. And then they do something wild. And then we're like, wait, maybe they're not that good. Like, for instance, they trailed Eastern Illinois at half. Then they go on a 36-5 run and win by 30. They went by 30 at a half. So that's just been the MO. I saw kind of a viral clip that's going on. You guys see where Balo was jogging back on the fast break with kind of lack of sense of urgency. So there's some little things that concern me with Indiana. And they also have an NBA coach. Being as I played in the NBA for 9 years, I'm gonna be real with you. NBA coaches are just a lot more chill. They got a lot more money, and they're just a lot more chill than college coaches. I'm just gonna be real with you. So, I don't know if the sense of urgency is there, even from a coaching perspective, as far as like, we need to turn this thing around. On top of that, they have a lack of marquee matchups. I think South Carolina, who just lost to North Florida, and then they don't play anybody until Rutgers in January. So we're not even going to know what this team is until it's.
Hey, Rob takes offense at just saying Louisville is nothing right now. It doesn't roster.
I'm on the Louisville bandwagon.
They are in Atlanta still. They are in Atlanta.
Yeah, so but. Yeah, Indiana teases us all the time, and they're doing it now still, man, just kind of playing with us, and we don't know where we're going to get until, I guess, Rutgers in January, and Rutgers kind of struggling as well without Ace Bailey. So we'll see. Definitely not overreaction, though. They don't look like Big Ten champions at all.
Whoever said they were a Big Ten champion favorite?
I feel like
me.
I did. Didn't someone say they were the most talented roster in the Big Ten? Who said that?
My bad.
On TV said that.
My bad.
All right, Ed, give us your take on him. What do you think?
I like Indiana. I mean, but you know what, though? Ohio State is good. I'm not sure if y'all have gotten a chance to watch them. They are legit. They got this Steph Curry cat coming off the bench who just doesn't miss. I think he's like 7 for 8 on the year from 3, and he shoots the ball from like 30 feet. It's kind of insane. Probably the most underrated backcourt in the country with Ohio State. Illinois is also good. They have a couple guys who are going to probably play pro NBA in Yaka Jonas and Will Riley. Indiana's going to be up there as well. Man, it's crazy that I'm even saying this, but Penn State doesn't look bad. I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams being up there, but when it comes to Indiana, I trust their roster. Trey Galloway coming in as 6-man. He changes the tempo. He changes the team. I think it's going to come down to Miles Rice. If he can really settle in and get his game to another level, that's going to change the entire team. Mackenzie Mbako has gotten better. Malik Renew has gotten better. I think both those guys have really benefited from an actual backcourt. Indiana last year, they didn't have a backcourt. They played a small forward as their point guard for a majority of the year, and they still won 19 games. And the fact that they have a multitude of guards now, Big Ten level guards now, it just makes life for Mbako and Renew that much easier. But Balo, yeah, I mean, you're talking about Khalil Ware last year came into Indiana with the what will you say, with the reputation of not having a high motor. But Khalil Ware was also young, right? He came in as a true sophomore. Balo was in his 6th year, right? He's coming from successful programs. He also doesn't have a high motor. I don't think you're going to change him that much. So he's going to really have to deal with that. Whether it's playing Malik Renew more at the 5, I think that's still a really good lineup with him at the 5 and Baco at the 4, even Luke Goody coming in at the 3. And they have, I would take their roster over anybody else's in the league. It's just going to come down to, can you figure it out, and can you figure it out in time to actually make a run for the Big Ten championship.
CJ or John, do you agree with that? Do you think their rosters is comparable or better to anybody else in the Big Ten?
I do. I think that the league is wide open. I mean, I couldn't make an argument for 6, 7 different teams. You didn't even mention Oregon, who I think is look solid.
Oregon's so roster's nice too with Jackson. Yeah, I'm with you there.
They got some.
Keep forgetting they're in the league. I'm sorry.
I know it goes all over. Goes all over the country.
Right.
But the thing with Indiana, like I watched the maybe first 10 minutes of the game the other night, and I didn't feel a sense of urgency on the defensive end. I think that Mike Woodson's teams haven't really guarded that well. Talking about Purdue and going back to last season, Lance Jones was such a huge presence for them because it gave them the secondary handling. And kind of going back to that Purdue conversation, let's have that for Indiana. Like Carlisle was supposed to be that guy coming in, and he had his moments at Stanford last year, but he was really, really inconsistent. And he's 2 of 11 from the field so far. So they got to get better play out of him. But also, I just want to see like more sense of urgency on the defensive end. I saw a lot of sloppiness in that 10-minute stretch. But also, like John, I think we throw it to you. How hard is it maybe to get up for a couple of those games when you know some big boys are coming down the road to play those schools you've never heard of? My man's never even – it lives in Illinois, is from Illinois. He doesn't even know where the hell these schools are. So
Coach Williams he would say this. He said, look, you guys want to, not pay attention and think you're going to roll over his team. Some kid you don't even know his name is going to bust your ass tonight. So that's kind of how he got after us. Like, and then surely after the game, somebody would have 20. He'd look at you and say, hey, look, what did I tell you? Do you know who that is? Like, he just gave you 20. So that's also part of being a good team, man, being ready. In my 2 years where we were pretty high ranked, we got knocked off pretty early. And I 100% it was just complacency. We were feeling ourselves, and that's what happens. But we didn't have NIL money, so I don't know, man. Yeah. My guy Balo looked like he eating good, man. He got that bread, like, you know what I'm saying?
He's chilling right now, bro.
He's chilling, like, he chill, like, he understand the game. Like, I don't think he, it's not necessarily, he's not going to be a draft pick, man, but, he's probably setting himself and his family up pretty well. And he gets to play in Indiana, which is a hoop heaven. He's living good. Probably got his own apartment. I mean, these kids is going over. I follow a couple of college kids. They going to Turks and Caicos. I mean, it's insane right now. Like it's wild. But they wearing the same shoes I wear. Like we got the same gear on and stuff. I'm just, hey, look, man, I love it.
Born 10 years too early, man.
You know what? I'm glad that we didn't have NIL because I know myself personally, and I probably would have took my foot off the gas. So I can only imagine what these kids are dealing with now, trying to balance all that. So I'm glad I didn't have that. Yeah, I'm good. I did my thing.
A whole different distraction. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We will continue our Overreaction Monday. I want to focus on the Big East. UConn's the reigning defending, couple years in a row. Outside of that, how many good teams? How many tournament teams? We'll dive into it next on the Field of 68 After Dark.
Now that college basketball season is back in full swing, I need to remind you guys about our partners over at Autograph, where the real college hoops fans reside. The Autograph app curates all of the best content for every sports fan and every sports fan's favorite team. Podcasts, blogs, analysis. It's all there without the nonsense from the talking heads that don't actually watch the games. And there's a bonus. Consuming content on the Autograph app earns you coins that can be redeemed for rewards for things like no-fee tickets or signed jerseys from your favorite players. There are a couple new features in the app that I need to let you guys know about as well. Autograph Replay gives you a quick hitting summary of the previous day's news so you can keep track of all the important things going on with your favorite teams. And Autograph Rooms allows you to chat in real time with the true voices of fandom within your team's community. So go to the link in the description or scan that QR code on your screen and download the Autograph app.
All right, we're back here on the Field of 68 After Dark, presented by BetMGM. Chris Childers with Ant Wright, CJ Moore, and the great Tar Heel John Henson. We have had a little overreaction Monday. We are now 2 Mondays in to the college basketball season, 1 full week. We've had a little sample size. Some teams have played 2 or 3 games at this point. Let's get into some overreactions overall, and we did a couple already, but the Big East as a conference. We know UConn is good. They're ranked highly. They're number 3. They're the reigning defending champions. Maybe not as good as they've been, but we think highly of them. Then kind of after that, kind of a mid-level second weekend, maybe beyond that threat when it comes to the tournament are the Creightons, the Marquettes of the world. Then you have Patino and St. John's. Is that it? I mean, when you look at the league right now, is it 4 decent teams and everybody else? I see John laughing. So we're going to say our overreaction is the Big East is a 4-bid league. Overreaction or not?
I'm just glad, everybody's off the ACC's back. I mean, remember we were a 3-team league last year, at one point. So I'm happy that someone else. But UConn obviously is the class of the league. I would throw Creighton in that tier. And then it just kind of gets jumbled. Like, Marquette, they beat Central Michigan by 8. Creighton beat them by 50, So that's kind of an interesting number. Then, you got St. John's. I don't know what they're going to be until I see them against Baylor. But I always said I think Rick Pitino's going to right that ship. Kadari Richmond over there as well. That was a great pickup for him. So I think it's Creighton, UConn, and then we just don't know what's going to happen, man. But as we've seen over the years, the Big East kind of finds their way. They kind of find their way, and they tighten up towards the end of the season. But right now, it's looking like the league that is having a down. You don't know if the Proto zapped all the good players out of there, but they're not looking too good right now.
Definitely some good teams at the top, though, CJ. Right? But are you a 4-bid guy? Overreaction or not?
I think overreaction. I think it's way, way, way too early. The one I am a little worried about is Marquette. Cam Jones has been unbelievable to start this season, but nobody else can make a damn shot. Like he is the only one. If you look at their 3-point percentage and you take him out, it's like in the teens maybe. So that's been concerning. I think the team that I really liked coming into the year and has been a little disappointing to start is Xavier, but I think Xavier will end up being an NCAA tournament team. Ryan Conwell, the Indiana State transfer, has been pretty dang good as advertised. Guys like Zach Fremantle and Jerome Hunter are coming back from missing all of last season. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for Xavier to get going, but to me, that's a tournament team. I think St. John's is going to be a tournament team. They just got too many dudes in Rick Pitino, and that's NCAA tournament usually. And then we already said Creighton, UConn. Marquette's that one that I want to believe just because Cam Jones is so damn good, but his teammates better start making some shots. But again, super early. But I would go with that 5 if I were to predict it down towards the end. I think that 5 ends up making it. But the rest of the league, like kind of last year, the bottom wasn't very strong. It's going to hurt their numbers come March. If those bottom teams have a bad non-conference and they're not off to a good start. So that's probably the concern is your computer numbers aren't going to be very good, like a Seton Hall last year, like a Providence. and Providence, we can't judge Providence yet until they get the big boy back.
I'm with CJ. I am all about Xavier. I have an agenda for Ryan Conwell. As soon as he hit the portal, I was all about it. I told people, I was like, yo, Ryan Conwell is going to be one of the top transfers in the country. I'm seeing him on not even top 100 lists. And I'm like, Ryan Conwell clears 90% of these dudes. He is serious business. And I based his film off of a bad game that he had. But just the way that he was moving, the way that, He's physical. I think his jump shot translates. I think he's going to have a shot at the pro level. I'm big on Ryan Conn. I am so big on him, man. And I'm glad that Freemantle is back healthy. Hunter is back too. And like you said, like those guys are just going to be a bit rusty, and it's going to take a bit of time for that chemistry to get right. But I'm a big believer in Sean Miller, man.
Hey, Ant, I believe we had him top 10 over at the Athletics. So quit reading everybody
There you
else's
go.
rankings.
There you go. Someone didn't have him top 100. I almost
I'm going to
lost my
pull it
mind.
up right now. I'm going to tell you what number it was, but I'm pretty sure it was top 10.
All right, let's talk Louisville. We saw them over the weekend against Tennessee. They put up a interesting fight, I would say. Tennessee was just way better inside the paint. They kicked their butt from a rebounding perspective. They kicked their butt from a points in the paint perspective, and Rick Barnes has done a more than adequate job of replacing the productivity of Dalton Connect. And I'll start with you on this one for Louisville. I mean, it's just a couple of games into a brand new era for Pat Kelsey, and it's very fair to say they're a work in progress, considering Kenny Payne's tenure there was just a disaster. There's no nice way to say it. So our overreaction, Louisville not a tournament team. Ant, is that an overreaction or not?
Not right now, and that's okay based off of where they've been. I think that the fact that they have a shot to get to a postseason this year. It may not be the NCAA tournament, but they have a lot of new guys. Like you just have so many new pieces on this team. They were completely gutted, and coach is trying to find out who he has. I mean, I don't think any starter had double digits, right? Like Tennessee is going to lock you down. Tennessee is going to lock you down. That's been the calling card for a team like Tennessee to play Louisville this early. That was a perfect setup for Tennessee because they know who they are. They have their culture. They have their roles. They have everybody designated knowing what Tennessee basketball is. You got Zakai Ziegler out there just torturing anyone who has the basketball. So that's a really tough matchup for Louisville this early. I would have really loved to see him maybe the 8th or 9th game, not game number 2. Louisville just ran into a complete buzzsaw there, and that just sucks scheduling wise.
Yeah,
Massive rebuilding process. Go ahead, CJ.
You got that many new dudes. You don't want to see a Tennessee, a Houston, an Iowa State, an Auburn, like somebody a team that's super, super physical defensively with continuity on this roster. Like that was just a perfect storm there for them to get their butts whooped. And also as many threes as they're going to shoot this year, they're going to have they're just going to be all over the place some games. I mean, they're going to look amazing probably in a few games, and then they're going to have some duds just because I think they're going to be super reliant on the 3 ball. I like the roster. Like they've got a lot of nice pieces. I've always been a Chucky Hepburn. I think Chucky's a nice player. Terrence Edwards was a really, really good player at the mid-major level. Javon Hadley was really good solid at Colorado. Like they've got some nice pieces. Kayshawn Pryor is a guy that's super interesting and could maybe break out this year. Had a really nice year at South Florida last year. So I like their talent, but it's way, way too early to judge Louisville. Like we can't judge Louisville till probably mid to late December, just because it's going to take a while when you have that many guys.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna tell you what happened. They won by 50. They're feeling good. They went out. They had a blast. They part of college basketball, the big time schools being able to handle prosperity. So I don't even think this was an X and O's. They did get blitzed by Tennessee, but they did cut it to 9 in the second half. So it wasn't like they were just getting smoked the whole game. They battled back. They just feeling themselves, man. We've all been there, feeling themselves in Louisville. Hey, Cats is, I'm not saying no names. Cats is getting 700K, saying they probably went out to Jeff Ruby's on Main Street out there. So, Yeah, they got to get back into the gym, practice, and understand that it's a marathon, and winning one game by 50 doesn't mean all your problems are solved. And I think Louisville is personally one of my dark horses to be in the top four of the ACC. I think they're going to get a 2-round bye, so that's how I feel about them. They just got a little excited, man. It happens, man. Louisville's a different place, man. I've been there. I had a friend that coached there, so if you let it, man, it'll intoxicate you. But you got to kind of get back to business, and I think they'll be fine.
I think Pat Kelsey knows that too. Pat Kelsey understands that this is definitely going to take some time. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Champions Classic in Atlanta. Michigan State taking on number 1 Kansas. My guys will break down the keys to that game, plus Duke, Kentucky, the headliner, the Blue Bloods going at it. Who's got the edge? Two very different looking teams this year. And for Kentucky, a brand new coach making his debut. We'll get into it next on the Field of 68 After Dark, presented by BetMGM.
Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description.
All right, we are back here. It is our final segment of the evening, Mondays After Dark, Field of 68, presented by BetMGM. Tonight was a little bit of a slow night of basketball. Did have a nice game between Alabama as they beat McNeese State 72-64. Florida won. Todd Golden did coach in the game. Rutgers got a win over St. Peter's. Iowa State, Purdue, all winners tonight. So decent night of basketball, but the build, the excitement early in the season is all about Atlanta. It's all about State Farm Arena. It's all about the Champions Classic. 2 huge games tomorrow in the ATL. The first one at 6:30 Eastern Time. Michigan State taking on number 1 Kansas. Kansas had that fun game on Friday. They had the lead, nearly blew it, but still found a way to beat Carolina. And then the big one, Duke and Kentucky later on in the evening. Let's start with Michigan State and Kansas. You saw Kansas handle some adversity the other night. CJ, your thoughts on this team going into the game against Sparty? A lot of people think it might be a blowout. Is this game competitive in your eyes?
For Kansas to blow them out, they're going to have to guard. I don't think that they're playing defense at a level to like blow out a high quality team yet. Is Michigan State a high quality team? I don't know. I have plans to watch their tape on the plane tomorrow as I'm flying to Atlanta. I haven't catch Sparty yet, but Tom Izzo is always going to have at least a respectable team. So we'll see. But Kansas does have a ton more firepower. Last year the depth was pretty bad for KU. They've got dudes coming off the bench now. Zeke Mayo has been really, really good. Ryland Griffin can really shoot the ball. AJ Storrs coming off the bench. I don't think he's quite on the same page as all the guys yet, but he had some moments against Carolina and started to get downhill. Bill Self wants him to be a slashing, downhill driver, get offensive rebounds, that kind of stuff. I think he's maybe starting to get through to him, so we'll see. But KU should win this game fairly easily, but I do think Kansas defensively, Hunter Dickinson's got to be better in ball screens. They've got to step it up on that end. Quick guards have bothered them so far, and I know Michigan State does have some of those. So we'll see, but I do expect Kansas to win this game.
You've seen them, Ant. You've seen Tom Izzo over the years. Certainly, you've talked a lot of Big Ten. Their roster, it should be a mismatch. I mean, Michigan State isn't what it used to be. Where is Izzo in his career, in this game, going in? Is he stubborn? Is he refusing to adapt? Will he? What is Michigan State basketball while the world has changed in 2024?
Yeah, gonna be honest. Michigan State basketball really hasn't been the same since Cassius Winston and Xavier Tillman left. And then you have the game changing with NIL and the portal, and he doesn't recruit portal that hard. He also doesn't recruit internationally, what you see a lot of teams doing. So I think he's gonna have to start dipping into one of those pools a little bit harder. But like overall, they have a this is going to be a big test for them. Both backcourt and front court. Their front court with Xavier Booker, who is a former 5-star, who played very off and on, inconsistent last year, but this season the coach has given him a very, very long leash. The 5 spot is going to be interesting tomorrow, bro. I'm not going to lie. You have Simone Zapala, who started double-digit games for Longwood. He's probably going to start tomorrow on Hunter. He's about 7 foot, 245. But the best option, in my opinion, there is going to be Jackson Kohler. Kohler's about 6'9". Not sure how they're going to guard Hunter. Also, from a backcourt standpoint, you have Jaden Akins, who's always been basically the third guard in the offense the last 3 years, who's now being asked to carry a load, right? And we'll see how that does, especially when you're playing a team who knows exactly who you have. Like if you stop Frankie Fiddler and you stop Jaden Akins, it's going to be hard for them just to score the ball. But the overall frustration, I think, comes from just talking with Michigan State fans is we're not seeing the typical Michigan State 5, and we're not seeing the typical Michigan State lineups. Like they haven't had a first round pick since Bridges, Jaren Jackson. Was that like 2017, 2018?
It's been a minute.
It's been a long It's been a long time, and that's crazy to even think about. So, you have to do one or the other. You have to be able to, you can go out and get a good freshman like this year. Jace Richardson is very, very good. Jason Richardson's son, very good player, lefty guard coming off the bench. But like right now, their point guard play, Jeremy Fears, good player. But I would have brought in one more point guard, one more on-ball guard to really push him in practice and just be some type of insurance for that backcourt. But it's this game is going to show a lot, and I agree with CJ where we're going to learn a lot about this team for sure. We're going to learn, hey, how good this backcourt is, and we're going to learn, can this front court, like, you're not going to stop Hunter, but in terms of just containing the Kansas front court, if they can do that, I think that's going to set up Michigan State for a much better year than I thought for sure.
Yeah, we kind of analyze everything. I agree with the guys. I think this is going to show us Izzo's continuity, no portal, because there's 5 guys that played last year, and then there's 4 guys that played in the win against Kentucky 2 years ago. So maybe that experience and that the bright lights won't be so bright for them, and they keep it close. But on paper, man, Kansas should roll. But you never can doubt a Michigan State team, as we kind of saw in the tournament last year and certain games where we counted them out and then they kind of rose back to life.
All right, John, your favorite school, your number one favorite passion is in action tomorrow. The Duke Blue Devils are taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. We know you love Duke with all your heart and soul. I kid, but Duke, Kentucky, matchup-wise, Mark Pope, his first taste of this kind of juice in an environment like this at Kentucky. How do they match up?
Give me Big Blue Nation. And I'm not saying
with
that because
you.
I'm with Carolina. They got 7 guys averaging double figures. They've scored 100 points. I saw the camaraderie after the game, hugging their coach. Kobe Brea's leading the team off the bench in averaging. I think tomorrow the young kids may struggle a little bit, but that's kind of just been the theme of Duke. If we think over the last few years, they kind of came on a lot of hype and they kind of got knocked back down. And then by the end of the season, they're number 1 seed and kind of champion favorite. So I personally love Kentucky tomorrow. I love the 6.5 points we're getting even more. So I think this is
It's 6.5.
6.5 is crazy. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, be all over that.
Yeah. So I think this is a coming out party for Kentucky and Mark Pope. I watched him play the other day. It was enjoyable to watch. I just love the energy. I love him. He loves the school. I think tomorrow Kentucky's going to rear its ugly head and take care of Duke. Duke has a talent, but Cooper Flagg and those guys haven't been there yet, and they're still learning. So give me Kentucky for sure.
CJ,
I am with you.
Go ahead, Ann. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. No, like I am this Kentucky team, in my opinion, has the highest floor in the country. I believe defensively they could be one of the better defenses in the country as well. They're old. They have it's not going to be sexy, but they have old guys who really want to win. They could have one of the best shooting teams in the country too. And I just think they just have a way. They just have guys who this is really their last go around. They don't care about their stats. They just want to win games. And I think Lamont Butler is the most underrated player in the country. He reminds me of Shed from Houston last year. He's a bulldog. And as long as he's healthy, I think this Kentucky team can like get to a Final Four.
I think it's a bad matchup for Duke. Like Duke is playing in a drop coverage with the freshman big fella. Kentucky runs all that zoom action. They really, really confuse you with guys just running all over the floor. They're going to shoot a ton of threes. If he's in drop when they come off that zoom action, like they're just going to hit threes all day. I think John Shire is going to have to coach a really, really good game to win this. I think he's going to have to end up going to Malik Brown, who I think they're better at. Duke's better with him at the 5 right now. He's a really good passer. I've been impressed by him. I think that Shire is going to have to coach an awesome game, and Cooper Flagg is going to have to play incredible for Duke to win this game. Like Flagg could, in the post, could maybe give Kentucky some problems, but I think Kentucky is just they look a lot further along to me right now than Duke does. Like we've already hit on, Duke is so young. I think Duke has a chance to be pretty good down the road, but role definition is so important this time of year. And I think they're still trying to figure it out, where even though Kentucky has so many new dudes, kind of like Louisville, but I think they're further along and understanding how they're supposed to play, where they fit amongst the group. And I'm with the guys. Like I really like this Kentucky team so far. Today was the first chance I really dove into their tape, and man, they look pretty good, and they can shoot that rock.
A lot of high praise for Mark Pope, and
so we're probably all going to be wrong, and Duke's probably going to win by 20.
Yeah.
So
It's all good. Hey, I put the pick in there early. I want all the points. Good.
All right, let's get into our final toast of the evening on this Monday, our first week of college basketball in the books. I'll kick it off. Little tip of the cap, little toast to Alabama, to the Crimson Tide, getting a win tonight over a pesky McNeese State team. Mark Sears looks the part, looks like a winner, and just the state of Alabama in general. Auburn is so well thought of. This state has embraced basketball. They love football, but they've embraced basketball. So toast to Alabama and Nate Oates for the win tonight.
I will go next. I'm going to go Marcus Burton, 19, 8, and 9 tonight, 8 for 21 shooting, and then win for Notre Dame. no real crazy standout performances, but he did his thing, man. He's a name to watch as this season goes on.
I'll go.
Who's got the next? Go ahead.
I'm gonna toast to Will Wade. Not only did they go into Bama and play him close, had a really, really good game plan for him, but here's the part. You know, I'm from Kansas City. I grew up watching Big 8, Big 12 basketball, Big Monday. You know what I hate more than anything else? There's a game about 8 to 10 points. Carolina's whooping up on somebody, and it's about 8 to 10 late, and they drag that game out. The opponent keeps fouling, and we got to wait for the game tips, and we don't get to see the first 10 minutes. Well, here's what Will Wade did tonight. He's playing the net game. He doesn't want to lose by a lot. And so he did not foul it all late. He did not try to stretch that thing out. He's like, I'm going to take my 8 points and I'm going to run because that might get me a seed line after we win the Southland.
I was gonna ask you guys that. I was gonna ask you that earlier. Like, how do we feel about that for the game? Because I was watching the game, obviously, and they said that, like, he just let him go, man. He'll take the 8 points and run with it. Like, I thought that was super interesting.
You see how pissed he was at his guard late on the last possession? Like, he could have gotten one more bucket and he screwed it up. He's like, he was pissed about that, but not about not fouling.
I always call Will Wade. He's a shark, man. He's a shark, man. I love Will Wade.
It's all about metrics, baby. It's all about metrics. It's all about metrics. Mine's not going to be that flashy, but I'm going to give mine to Dylan Harper. He had 24 points and 6 rebounds. Rutgers avoided the upsets of St. Peter's today. That would have been ugly. St. Peter's had them on the ropes. St. Peter's had Seton Hall on the ropes too, right? I mean, that's a little pesky squad that they got over there in Jersey, bro. So Dylan Harper, 24 and 6 to lead Rutgers to the dub.
A toast indeed. All right, we are done for the night, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure hanging out. That a boy, John Henson. He's not messing around on Monday night. And CJ, John, it's been a pleasure. I'm Chris Childers. Enjoy tomorrow. Champions Classic. It'll be fun tomorrow. We'll have coverage afterward on the Field of 68. It's After Dark. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on the Field of 68. After Dark, presented by BetMGM.